We are now joined by John Machota, theathletic.com, covers the Cowboys. That in itself is a full-time life, and also the NFL, of course, into the championship round as well. John, thanks for your time. Is Jerry allowing his head coach in any way to twist in the wind?
I guess you could technically say that, but it's funny because Michael Irvin was on the radio here doing a weekly segment earlier this morning, and I just love the way he summed it up. Is basically he was asked about, is it fair to Mike McCarthy to have the Sean Payton stuff out there? And he's like, well, don't lose in the first round of the playoffs with the team that you had, and you don't put yourself in that position. So, yeah, that's part of the business. And I just think you're pretty naive if you become the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and you don't think things like this aren't going to always be in the consideration or being discussed if you don't have success and you have a disappointing finish to your season. So, yeah, he's probably twisting a little bit in the wind, but I bet you Mike McCarthy is pretty confident that he's not going anywhere, and he's dealt with plenty of stuff in his time in Green Bay. I'm sure it's not that surprising to him.
Did Sean Payton stepping away just create a headache not a headache, but constant questions for Cowboys ownership for the next however long it is until Mike McCarthy's not the coach and Sean Payton is available?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I think it has. But in much like my last answer, I do believe that some will say that all comes with the dinner. But I guess I'd feel a little bit more like it's unfair if they had played a really good game, won their wild card round, and just lost the way the Bills just did to the Chiefs, and you're just like, man, that's just kind of the way the game goes. To lay an egg the way they did in the playoffs, to play the way they did in the second half of the season against any team that was decent, this you should all expect it, or you shouldn't be in this business. I mean, that's what comes with it, and that's what comes with the most passionate fan base, probably in sports, not just the NFL. So, yeah, man, put your big boy pants on. This is why, I think it was Bill Parcells said it, this is the big room. Yeah, that's what it is. So if you don't, no one's twisting your arm. You don't have to coach or be a part of the team or anything like that. Somebody else will gladly do it.
John, looking back at those classic games last weekend, obviously the Cowboys were a step away from being able to play in just those games. Did you have any thoughts about the team when watching those others out there competing for a shot at the championship games, just in terms of maybe how they would have played or how they would have fit into the scheme of things?
Yeah, I like that. That's a great question because there were a lot of different things I thought about when I was watching it. And, there's always going to be, when you have four top teams playing, there's always going to be different things that you see that you're like, man, the Cowboys could do that. They would have been better off. But there's two sides to every story. So my big thing is I felt like every team in big moments were targeting their best players when they needed to make plays. And that's clearly not what the Cowboys were doing, especially against good teams, the backstretch of the season, like San Francisco, like we've talked about on here. And I know that I believe it was after the Packers lost. I believe that there were some comments about that they went too much to Devontae Adams and that they should have been looking for other guys. So like I said, there's two sides of the story. Me personally, I just feel with the way this Cowboys team is constructed, it's great when you can get Cedric Wilson and Dalton Schultz, but there had to be more ways to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. And again, if that was only the 49ers game that was the case, I wouldn't even bring that up. But we saw that too often this past season where it was like, these are the big dogs. These are the guys that are going to win these games. These are the guys that are the advantage in every matchup that they're going to face. You can't cover all of them. How come these guys aren't getting the ball? And that's obviously something that they're going to have to work on this offseason to rectify, because there just should never be a season where Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb aren't both over 1,000 yards. They should both probably be close to 1,300 yards. But the other thing I will say I took away, and I'll remain to watch as we go through, I believe that we are going to see it. I believe last week was the AFC-NFC championship games. I think that we're going to see the Rams play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And if that holds true, the other thing that it speaks to with the Cowboys is this Cowboys, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, have been dead set on how we're not going to spend money in free agency. Yep. We're going to just pay our own. We're going to do it through the draft. Well, if it's Rams and Chiefs, there's not two better examples of how, but you still got to go outside the organization and add pieces here and there. No one's saying that you have to go full Rams and not even pay attention to the draft, But it's just two good examples of how, I don't think you can just do it one way or the other.
Jerry's tried it. It seemed like every way. And it doesn't mean when you do go and give up a first-round pick or whatever that it's going to work that way. But the Rams said, hey, we're not sitting still. We're going to go get Von Miller. We have a receiver who goes down. Paul, Woods goes down. Yeah. They went and found and of course,
I kind of fell in
Odell,
lap, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. But they got him and Odell Beckham Jr., who's been really good for them. John, you mentioned the CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper compared to what we've seen with other teams and where they are now getting it to their players. You know, how much do comments from former players? You've mentioned Michael Irvin. I've also seen what he said a couple of other things in the last week or two. Or Troy Aikman, who basically put the offense on a burner with the comments about Michael Irvin would have had 10 catches at halftime, and he hates to go back to the past. How much does that, if at all, reverberate in the Cowboys organization?
I think it does. I don't know to what level, but I mean, it's obviously loud and clear because the Cowboys organization, even if those guys didn't have prime TV gigs where everybody knew, I mean, they're big names, just not even just with the Cowboys, NFL period. I think that it would still carry weight, but I also think that it should. I mean, these are guys that were key parts of, they didn't just get lucky and win a title. Mm-hmm. They were a dynasty. They won titles. You should be listening to these guys. You can dismiss certain things and you can be mad right now if you're a player or a coach or somebody in the front office, but you should listen to what they have to say. These guys do know what they're talking about. Like, you can dismiss some of it, but to just completely dismiss all of it, I mean, I don't think that would be smart at all. That they should be listening to what these guys have to say. So, just to answer your question, I think that it's heard loud and clear, and I certainly think from a player standpoint, it has to be on the social media side because they have to see when this stuff's being tweeted out.
John, I saw your grades for the Cowboys players individually. This was a team that was 12-5 in the regular season. It is, but if you look, I mean, you graded harshly, not on a curve at all, and I thought it was very fair that a lot of guys got in the C range because this is a team that started out like a house on fire, and then after that Patriots win, they all played kind of average.
Yeah, and that's what was hard about grading the team because there's some parts of it where you're just like, like a Dak Prescott, I gave him a B-, and there's some people that think like, well, he should have been a C. Well, yeah, you can put him as a C if you just want to grade it after week 7, but I wasn't going to grade it like that. You have to take into account for the way the season started and the way he was playing, the way the season started, and the way he's played, really before the ankle injury, and then just the way he played after the bye week when he came back from the calf strain. It just was not the same guy. And whether it's the play calling, the offensive line, him not being 100% healthy, him being a little bit hesitant to run, and teams playing to that by, putting 2 safeties back, being like, he's not going to run. We don't have to worry about that element. Something else that I noticed, when you watch Josh Allen obviously play for Buffalo and how much of a weapon that is with him. I think that it's all those things combined, but at the same time, I'm not going to act like the guy had an awful season. He didn't have an awful season. He just didn't meet expectations when it mattered most. So it's tough to weigh some of that stuff, but it's all just because it makes for good fodder with fans and that, because, you grade 3 players and it's going to be tough for everyone to agree on 3. So when you grade 53, that there's going to be people like, you kidding me? This guy should have gotten an F, and this guy should have gotten an F, and this guy should have gotten an F. And I understand it, and that's fine. You're upset. They still won 12 games, and nobody in the NFL this year won more than 13. So, it wasn't a complete failure, but I'll tell you this. The offensive line was the toughest for me to grade because there's a part of you that wants to give every one of those guys a worse grade than maybe you initially would just because of how underwhelming the offensive line was. But there's also a part of me where I'm like, yeah, but all these guys individually, if you're grading them individually, are still good players. And so as a continuity, as a group, yeah, it's a D at best. The coaching is probably going to, be affected by it because obviously they didn't perform even close to what they should have. But yeah, it's difficult. The grades would be different if you're grading them by each position group. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I just always do in the off season. So I figured, why would I stop now?
John, this is obviously going to be a story that plays out over the coming weeks and perhaps even months as well. But what's just kind of your gut right now on the whole Amari Cooper situation and his future in Dallas?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I feel like if you ask every single person that covers this team the same question, I bet you in the end that your responses would be 50-50. I think everyone's kind of splendid. Me personally, I just keep saying that I just don't know how you're making the offense better for Dak Prescott without Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. So, and it's funny too, because you hear Jerry Jones' comments about it, and you can take Jerry's comments whatever way you want. You can take him as he's upset with Cooper. You can take him as he's upset that the offense isn't using him better. So, obviously getting paid over $20 million, that's going to be factored in. I mean, obviously knowing the organization, Amari included, is pleased with what his production was this season. So I would never say that it's 100% that he's coming back. I believe that he will. But if he doesn't, man, you're probably losing Schultz too. I don't know how you think that all of a sudden the offense is going to be better with CeeDee Lamb as your one. Let's say they resign Cedric Wilson. And then who knows with Michael Gallup. I mean, you're going to have to draft another guy. And then if you draft another guy that has to play a key role, then are we going to hear all this about how, like, well, it's going to take time to get on the same page and things like that. So I don't know. Like I said, Amari Cooper is pretty quarterback friendly. I don't think we have to, have great memories to go back to when he was first traded and how quickly him and Dak hit it off, and how quickly that became his number one receiver. To just all of a sudden get rid of that. Like I said, I don't know how you're getting better by subtracting Amari Cooper.
Okay, if Kellen Moore is back, because I know that if he leaves, then the whole offensive staff is probably game for changing anyway. But if Kellen Moore is back, do they bring back Joe Philbin at all, given what you said about the offensive line?
I don't think so. I don't see how you bring back Joe Philbin, and all of this might not even be all just solely on Joe Philbin, but someone's going to take a fall for that. I mean, we saw it last year. You play defense like that, someone's got to take a fall. And it was Jim Tomsula and Mike Nolan. But no, yeah. With how bad Jerry Jones is right now, there's just no way they're rolling, at the very least, with the same coaching staff. I would think that Joe Philbin will probably be out with or without Kellen Moore being back as offensive coordinator. All
right, John. So the Cowboys have been able to do a better job of allowing, I don't want to say stars, but guys who are good to maybe walk. With Will McClay, Stephen Jones, and maybe, I don't know what McCarthy's role would be in that or not, because Jerry loves his toys. Is there somebody that's making big money that they should walk? They should just walk away from, or not sign somebody who's up for a free agent deal? I think Dalton Schultz turned out to be as most dependable as anybody he had in the passing game, but he's going to get big money. He's going to get big money. Is there somebody they have to walk, that you think they should walk away from, that normally Jerry would rather lose a finger?
Oh, well, I think you can go back to the Amari Cooper thing again, why I said that I think it would be 50-50 if you asked everybody that not only covers the team but works for the team, would probably say it's 50-50 at this point. And I think you can throw in DeMarcus Lawrence as well. I mean, now those are guys under contract, but they are contracts that they can get out of right now. But those are two potential guys that there's no guarantee that both of them will be back, just because of where their contract number is. And I do think that DeMarcus Lawrence is still playing at a high level. I know he missed time, a significant time with the foot injury, and I understand that he doesn't have the sack numbers that you'd like for a guy that's making the money he does. But much like with the Cooper comment I made, I don't know how you're better without DeMarcus Lawrence, but those are two guys for sure. And then obviously the next one you have to throw in there after you mentioned Dalton Schultz is Randy Gregory. He had his best season and he showed you flashes of being an elite pass rusher. But that's a guy that in the past I would have said, no doubt Jerry's resigning him, let's go. But if he's trying to get top dollar, I can see Jerry being like, no, we're not doing that now. Not after we had, a part that when Jerry, when he was talking last week on the radio, it seemed like a lot of blaming of the coaches and, without saying it directly. But there's also got to be a part of him when he looks back at this season, particularly at that last game, how you have that pass rush and you don't get a single sack on Jimmy Garoppolo. There's got to be a part of him when he looks at that to be like, I thought that this was supposed to be the perfect thing. We got Micah, Neville Gallimore, and Randy, and DeMarcus. We're ready to go. We get Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the perfect guy that we should get. He dropped back. He passed 24 times, and we hit him twice. Out of those four guys, they only hit him twice. There's got to be a part of him that looks at this team that it was like the Giants. That's the way I thought it was. I thought this was going to be like the Giants with, Kiwanuka and Justin Tuck and Strahan and Osi Umenyiora, and that where they can cover up for a lot of the deficiency because of that pass rush. When the pass rush plays like that, in the biggest moment, in your home stadium, and lays an egg like that, you got some hard decisions to make.
Tyron Smith.
What about him?
Well, I mean, he seems like he's constant. He's a great player, Hall of Fame player. But he's not always available anymore, John. I know he's not making like $5 million a year. Is there ever a concern that can they walk away from him, or would that be a salary cap nightmare?
No, I wouldn't be a salary cap nightmare. I just don't think they'll do it because I think what they're going to do on the offensive line is, like I said, with the defense last year. I think that the fall guy is going to end up being Joe Philbin. And so whoever's the next coach is, they're going to sell to Jerry that, no, I'll fix this. Give me the same group back. And I'll get this right. But when you bring up Tyron, I think the one key there would be whoever that offensive line coach is what they think of Terrence Steele. If they think Terrence Steele is ready to be this every game starter and that he could potentially, fill that role, that's a different story. I don't believe that that's going to happen. I think Tyron's going to continue to play. I think he's going to be a Cowboy at least for one more year, depending on, his health and things like that. And he wants to continue playing. So I just find it hard to believe that Jerry would make a move there.
All right, man. Good luck with you dealing with this thing every day. With even if they were like 6-10 or 11, or if they had
it's
played
the same.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's the same.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
A lot of it is nuts. Thank you, John. Good luck, John Machota, theathletic.com. I saw when they did lose that game to San Francisco, how a lot of others in the media or in talk radio were saying good luck to this. Good luck. Or thank you to the Cowboys for giving Dallas Sports Talk Radio, whatever's left of it, 7 months of greatness, but we feel sorry for the beat writers.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. Although if they won, it's still the same.
Yeah, it would be.
So
all right. Yeah, no, who was it? Who's the one that said being a beat writer for the Cowboys can make you do a lot of things you don't want to do in life?
John, I promise you, John and guys and Mickey and the guys we have on that cover the Cowboys, if Dak Prescott is doing an appearance at a Whataburger, they go to that Whataburger. And I don't think that that's true necessarily for every single beat of an NFL team.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Like if Matt Stafford is an In-N-Out Burger, do all the beat writers go to the In-N-Out Burger?
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah, but
if they can get there and fight traffic. When we come back, Paul Catalina wraps it up for us, the top 5, Sick'em 365 Radio. So